the cosmos. In the vast universe, the history of humanity is but a flash of light from a lone star. The life of a single person should be lost in space and time. But among the stars, there is one light that burns brighter than all others. The light of Samus Aran. Her battles extend beyond her life and etch themselves into history. Here, another chapter of that history will be written.
Hello, and welcome back to Game Over Gerkinman, to an all-new season of Game Over Gerkinman. This is Metroid Prime. This is the Trilogy version on the Wii, although I'm playing this through the Wii U. I said I was going to do this game, so yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite games, and there's a reason I wanted to do this game. It's because I not only do I know it inside out, there's actually a lot to talk about, both in terms of lore in this game and gameplay mechanics. So I'm going to start off with some gameplay stuff. Like most games, they want you... There's a little bit of... This is a tutorial area. This is a ship called the Orpheon, by the way, here. This big ship here, so we're going to be exploring that very soon. But I like the way this game does this tutorial, so obviously this is asking me to do this to lock onto some stuff. I want to point some stuff out first. So you want to start your characters off in a safe environment, your player off in a safe environment. So it looks like we can fall. No, there's a force field around here, which will prevent us from falling anywhere. So this gives us a safe environment to learn all this game's tricks without it being super stupid about it. So the lock-on version in the GameCube, basically you would lock on and it would hold your cursor in place. Something I really like about this version on the Wii re-release, aside from the widescreen, is the fact that you actually get a free look, so you can lock onto something and still point around, which is something you couldn't do in the original GameCube. I find shooting to be much more satisfying and easy in this particular version. So that was a tutorial, obviously, to teach us how to lock on and to shoot stuff. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so this sort of this force field's offline. We've got to get these things lit up, obviously. So this is just going to teach us how to use a scan mechanic. Scanning is a massive part of this game. I'm sure a lot of people who are familiar with this game... Actually, I didn't scan my ship. Let's get a little bit of a reading on that first. Scanning is basically how you find out about the story. There's very few cutscenes in this game and like no dialogue at all. It's all about reading stuff in the environment. So energy force field in place, you cannot reach your gunship, so it's trapped out of there, so we can't go back to that. But this scan visor is how you learn about pretty much everything happening in the game through reading logs and interacting through things. So force field activation switch is now online. That's going to light up these little guys, which once again is designed to help teach us, basic aiming, so we can either do it this way, which... Like this. Also, you'll notice that there's absolutely no ammunition. It's an energy weapon. Doesn't make sense for there to be ammo. There is ammo in the sequels to this game, but not in this one so much. And we also have a charge beam here, which basically is exactly what it says. So that's very much like the safe little intro area. Now, something else this game is known for is that you also notice this is running at 60 frames a second. The original game on the GameCube ran at 60 frames a second, so yeah, very impressive for the time. And it's because you have these small little environments. That's what these doors are. These doors basically mask the load screens for the next area. The game's in little segments like this, and that's how they managed to fit so much personality in here. So we've got these little things here. These also have some information on them that we can scan. Deck, gamma reactor core and propulsion current status, environment normal. So basically the ship's all fine from here. Emergency evacuation area, current status, environment unstable. So this is a series of logs along here, so something's obviously going wrong at some point before we've come through here. I love these like little windows you can still see out here. The art direction in this game still blows me away. I don't think it's quite as solid as it is in the second one. Oh, here's some interesting little stuff too. So we've got some debris in here. We've got this little guy here, just chilling, just floating around. Airlock repressurized, successful. Right, so we're going to get into the ship. Airlock, gravity falls. Not sure why Samus isn't so floaty. Maybe she just has something in her bruise that make her stick to the ground. I don't know exactly. Alright, so here we have... What do we got? Entrance to emergency evacuation area. You can see... running through the floor there. I missed them. There were some guys running through the floor, but I just missed them. That's okay, we'll get to scan in a second. So, obviously something has gone horribly, horribly wrong in here. There is some kind of giant creature here, there's some space pirates here, you got fire everywhere, fire's never a good sign. So let's see if we can put together what's going on here. The platform door doesn't look like it can be activated from this room, so that's basically a broken elevator there. What is this? Morphology unknown. Info, high levels of radiation detected. So we don't know what it is, but it's obviously highly irradiated. Analysis shows incredibly large muscle structures surrounding the jaws area. Fluid sacs containing acid are also detected. So, whatever it is, it's obviously pretty big and intimidating. We have a dead space pirate here. Space pirate status, death caused by severing of the spinal cord. And seeing as this guy's arm's going into him, that would make sense. We've also got these little, is it like escape pod places? Yeah, escape pods. So that escape pod's already gone. There's already a bunch of people who've obviously escaped from the building. And there's also these little parasites running around. So this is an actual creature scan. So there's regular logs which basically have like standard information, which is just world building, and then there are these logs which actually contain like information about the biology of the game and that sort of thing. So, parasite, interstellar vermin travel in swarms indigenous to Chalon 4. A single parasite is harmless to larger life forms, however they tend to travel in large groups, swarming over potential prey, and those swarms can be dangerous. So we'll be seeing more of those guys later on. Here's one here eating this eating this space pirate. What happened to this guy? Death caused by acidic burns to body by some unknown chemical. Well, I'm assuming since this guy had acid sacs, it was saying that that's probably what it was. Now this guy is actually still kind of alive. Just kind of, though. Can't really hit us. Put him out of his misery. This is our health here. Small energy replenishes 10 units of energy. Nothing overly exciting. So you can either walk into these, or you can, of course, charge your beam, and that will actually pull everything in, which is a pretty neat little feature. So we've got some other logs here. Okay, so there's just more escape pods launching. That's not really exciting. Escape pod launch coordinates Talon 4 Research Command Center. So there's a little foreshadowing there. Obviously, there was a planet below the space station. So one would imagine that that's where they shot off to. Here's a little tutorial for using the charge beam. Interestingly enough, I don't think that's something you do anywhere else in the game, use your charge beam to actually clear a path. And here we have like a little camera lead. We want to go in here, and because there's something in here interesting. So this is basically our first use of the morph ball. Wouldn't be a Metroid game without a morph ball. We'll be using this form a lot throughout this game. So what is this thing? Map station. Walk into map station. Holograms to download a map of the area you're in. Alright. Obviously be quite helpful. Not sure why she has a hologram show up in front of her visor, but whatever, I suppose. So this game has like these cool 3D maps that you can kind of navigate around. Sometimes they can be a little bit confusing to read. Generally though, they're not too bad. There's only some areas where it gets to be a little bit hectic. Something that is interesting though is I had to get into a morph ball to come in here, but there's computer terminals in here, so I don't know how the space pirates were getting in here to use those computers. There's a lot of that in this game where the gameplay and the world building kind of like are at odds with each other. Like stuff makes sense from a gameplay perspective, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense from a like logical standpoint. But anyway, this is some little cool thing. This is the sort of details I really like. Access to deck beta approved. Please step into the hologram. Not so much that, but it's the little details in this world. So there's this massive gear here. They show how everything works. Like this elevator obviously is run by this giant gear rotating here, so it lifts it up and down. A lot of games that just have this, float up or float down. Metroid Prime really makes an effort to try to, at the very least, it does its best to make environmental stuff make sense. It does all it can. Best way containment breach on deck beta, all crew report lockdown, so that's obviously that big guy that we saw earlier. This energy conductor unit has been damaged. Please use caution when approaching the arcing electricity. So this is a bit more of a timing thing. We want to sneak past here when there's no electricity. Pretty standard video gamey puzzle here. Nothing too crazy. Alright, so something we have here is another one of those parasites. This one is alive, and there's the containment tank over here, which is burst open. Which isn't particularly a good thing. Oh, two bursts open, actually. We also have some more space pirates over here. Let's see if I can get a scan on these guys. Morphology, space pirate status. Both legs of this creature are broken, so that guy's a mess. And what about this fellow here? Oh, that's the entrance. We don't want that. We want this space pirate. What's this guy's deal? Severe internal damage detected. Well, gonna have a severe external damage in a second. Alright, that didn't really do much damage, but I guess that's the whole thing. So this is the kind of like an anatomical breakdown of this parasite in here. Also notice there's like a weird blue hue, so maybe we can find out what that's all about. Parasite egg pupa stage. Whoops. It's tough exoskeleton protected from its mother's acidic embryonic fluid. So this thing's so acidic that it needs hard shells to stop itself from being dissolved in its own mother's womb. The fluid sacs in the mouth are enlarged after mutation. This allows for increased production of corrosive bile. So there's a very key word in there is mutation. So there is some experimentation going on here. After mutation, the carapace of larva becomes rigid. The carapace is quite resilient, able to resist the attacks of many predators. So it's a good thing to have a carapace that can do that. Otherwise, what's the point? Combat mutation applications are complete. The primary legs of this creature possess galvanized tips, allowing it to penetrate any known alloy. Which is a pretty dangerous thing to have a creature that can do. Alright, let's keep on exploring. So much to read. There isn't as much to read later on in the game. This opening part is very much like the heaviest in terms of content to read, in terms of world building. Listing support needed in specimen block F. Don't know what that's all about. Probably bad things happening. Ah, and here is another new enemy. This is a turret. Auto defense turret uses missiles to break out casings. So we don't have to use missiles. You can just use a charge beam. That works just as well. Because of the controls in this game, actually, on the Wii, you use the down on the D-pad to launch missiles, which isn't entirely practical. On the GameCube, I think it was like Y or X or something like that, which is a little more straightforward. Anyway, this is a containment room, so we've got plenty more happening here. So what have we got here? Morphology unknown information. This specimen has been horribly mutated. There are no life readings. So you can actually see that this guy's got bits and pieces of him, like, floating around in the water, so it's gone horribly, horribly wrong. We've also got these little tanks here, which are full of some guys that we'll run into later on. So who's this? This is Parasite Larvae, harmless illicit cannibal Let's already run into one of these guys. Interestingly enough, this guy's actually like twice the size of those. I'm not sure why that is. We also have this, Plasmite, made of Talon 4. We see plenty more of those. Here's a little throwback to Super Metroid. So, Solitary holding 1, phase and level unknown, status, xenotropic lifeform unstable, use caution. You can see on the little left there to sprite, you find those characters throughout Super Metroid. Very, very common Metroid enemy, and then there's just another of those plasmites there. And we also have these computer logs over here. So, red ones are important. Those are space pirate data, so there's a certain amount of those, and there's a certain number of Chozo laws, which we'll get into in another episode, and then the creature data. So those are the three main data entry sort of things you're really looking for. The rest of it's just there to kind of fill in the world. Space pirate encrypted data decoded. Seabeast has fallen. All ground personnel are presumed dead, either killed by the hunter-cladded metal or the subsequent destruction of the underground facilities. Underground facilities. So this is a reference to what happened in the original Metroid. Our research frigates, Orpheon, Syracuse, and Vol Paragon were in orbit at 0 hour and managed to retreat. Frigate Orpheon is now docked at Vortex Outpost. Orpheon's cargo appears to have 100% survival rate. Metroids are healthy but on restricted feeding schedules due to uncertain supply status. We are ready to begin research on the Metroids and other promising life forms. Security status remains at Code Blue. No signs of pursuit from the Hunter. So we are on the Orpheon now. So this ship does have Metroids on it, although we won't see any, not yet anyway. Phase 1 Infusion Stage 1, Parasite Lava, Diagnostic, Mass 1, 2, Length, blah blah blah, Cell Structure Stable. So we've heard the word Phase 1 mentioned a few times. Those of you who've played through Metroid Prime or the Metroid Prime games already know exactly what that is, but for those who don't, that is a very big important thing, and it's kind of like the crux of the entire story of this trilogy of games. What else we got? Phase 1 Infusion Stage 2, introducing mutagen into tank, Phase 1 batch, blah, 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 status complete. So basically they were infusing this guy with Phase 1, and eventually he turned out how he looks now. Stage 3, mutation initiated, later stage stable. Oops, I did not mean to press that. Phase 1 Infusion Stage 4, Lava Diagnostic, Mass 4, Cell Structuring failing, so he's starting to fall apart. Specimen Cell Structure failing, Batch 0032C. Does not match DNA, terminating infusion sequence. And now he's dead. He's a dead man. Biohazard waste removal may begin in 3 hours. So that's a little unrelated to that. Let's just see what else we can find around here. Experiment 435.8, bioform pain tolerance levels at 13% and holding. So it's interesting to actually keep track of the pain tolerance of their experiments as well, which is pretty messed up. Phase in batch 0003.H increases the acid production of the saliva ducts of Parasite lava. So it's very specific effects. Infusion analysis 10.2. Specimens exhibit incredible strength and body mass increase when exposed to Phase 1 batch 0732C. So obviously you have more than one batch of Phase 1 as well. So whatever it is they're experimenting on, there are different versions of, and different ones have different properties and effects. And this is just going to be us getting this elevator operational. I don't think there's anything interesting in here. Platform active. Nope. So this is a smaller one. Once again, keeping that thing going. You've got that little gear there turning to make it work. Let's see what's up with this guy. Space Parasite has severe internal damage detected. So another guy has just got a little bit of internal damage going on. We've actually got some other enemies up here too that we'll run into. Zuma, native of Talon 4, so we'll see those very soon, probably in the next episode actually. Plated Parasite, Larvae, native of Talon 4. I bet this guy's got severe internal damage. Brain hemorrhage detected, creature's aim will be hindered. Avoid damage. Well, he's dead now. I can hear another one here somewhere. What else have we got? This looks like a War Wasp, native of Talon 4. We'll run into plenty more of those. And let's just kill this guy. It's taking some hits. Alright, you'll also notice these like blue canisters up around here. I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that that's what they're using to inject Phase On into their into the experiment that they had down there. So I don't think there's any new... Oh wait, here we go. Shriekbat, another native. So we'll be running into plenty of these guys as well. And I believe that the Shriekbats are in Metroid, the original Super Metroid as well, I think. And what's this? Ice Shriekback. So that's another version of the Shriekback there. So there's multiple types of Shriekback depending on the environment you're in. And there's also this pirate here who is going to be dead right now. Lovely. Alright. So got some more things happening over here. It's gone. Ventilation covers may become superheated if airflow is restricted. Unusual thermal readings should be reported to the deck of the engineering duty. Sounds like good advice. Obstruction detected in reactor ventilation system. Engineering crew report to freight lift corridor immediately. So, I wonder what's... Something's blocking the ventilation. That's certainly not a good thing. Security codes on auto defense turrets are changed every other lunar cycle. Using improper codes may result in turret activation. That's just letting us know that if we press the wrong thing, we could get hurt. Or letting them know if they press the wrong thing, they could get hurt. So this is going to be access to another deck. Always with the holograms. Always like these. A lot of these science fiction movies have these. It's a diagonal elevator. I always think of Akira when I see these. Alright. So we got some more space pirates here. We got some parasites. What's the deal with this guy? Minimal injuries assessed. Maximum firepower recommended. Well, that's what I gave him. Already got that. What else we got here? This device doesn't seem to be functional. There must be something nearby that will turn it on. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Death caused by removal of internal organs. So that's that's grim. It doesn't look like his internal organs have been removed, but apparently that's what happened. Death caused by severe lacerations to the abdomen. So I think putting these guys here is trying to, like, obviously give you a hint that, hey, maybe someone's coming up, something bad. Door lock enabled, please insert metallic sphere to open door. This is a really interesting door locking mechanism. I'm not entirely sure why this would be their solution to opening doors, but, you know, if they want to use metal spheres, I guess there you go. We've got 2 more turrets in here. Oh no, don't close on me. That's annoying. That is one of the small issues with this game. Like, this is one of my favourite games of all time, and there's not many things that aren't great about it, I don't think. It's certainly up there. But because of the way the game's built around the way the doors operate in order to make things load, sometimes you can find, like, annoying little things like that happen. Anyway, let's get rid of these. Let's just hit these things with a missile. Nice and quick and easy. Oops, that's what I wanted to do. Obviously, being a tutorial-ish type level, they've also kept the damage you take to a minimum. Entrance to save station. So this is a save station. These are obviously a very good thing to have. Get a research entry for that. So many stations to save the game fully restore your energy. Why? I might just do that. Why would there be a save station here if there wasn't going to be a boss? The answer is there wouldn't be. I don't imagine. Well then, let's open up this guy here and we'll see what happens. What we got waiting for us? I love these little intricate animations though. Absolutely beautiful. Alright. Welcome to the first boss of the game. Let's have a little look at her. New creatures entry bit. Yeah. Morphology. Parasite Queen. Parasite female, genetically enhanced by unknown means. A weak spot has been detected in this creature's mouth. Use your auto-targeting to acquire this new target. Scans indicate the presence of potential mutagen. Origins unknown. Creature exhibits the ability to fire weapon-grade blast of energy from its mouth, a trait not present in the standard parasite genome. It appears the parasites have begun a bioengineering program, or the pirates have begun a bioengineering program with considerable results. So that guy that we found when we first arrived here, laying on the ground, was one of these. This boss isn't too bad. In fact, it's pretty easy. It's basically just a tutorial. You can't shoot through those little force fields, but it can shoot you through them. I guess because its attacks aren't based on energy, it's based on acid. It's an acid attack. But it's pretty straightforward battle. Very cool design. Great music. I will say that Prime does have a handful of really great bosses. I think Metroid Prime 2 has a much better selection of bosses. Some of the bosses in Metroid Prime 2 are just absolutely mind-blowing in terms of design and everything. But there are definitely a handful of cooler boss fights in here. And while this one is not a particularly difficult boss to fight, it's certainly a cool design that I really appreciate. So sometimes you can get your bullets through here. Not bullets, but beam weapons. Come on. And down she goes. Nice and easy. Perfect. Not quite done yet. I lied. So as you remember, there was a little piece of information about the fact that there was an issue with the ventilation. And that's because that creature was locked in there. I love the way those light up as you walk past them to like make it feel like you're in an emergency. Also, the music picks up; it's a lot more aggressive and in your face. Connection elevator. All right. So basically, if anyone who's played Super Metroid knows, once you defeat Ridley in that particular game at the beginning, or once Ridley gets rid of the Metroid, you got to escape. It's kind of like Metroid tradition that you got to. There's a little countdown down there. After the opening, try to get away from the. Get yourself out of the situation. What's we got here? Defense turret disabled. So there's actually a turret down here, but you can actually disable that, and that's something that will come into play later in the game as well. Okay, here we have some space pirates fighting another one of these, which is pretty cool the way that happens. This creature is deceased. The creature's incubation period was prematurely terminated. Its shell is not yet fully hardened. So yeah, that's happened to that poor thing. There you go. So already there's got some explosions and things. We can use this debris to climb up here. I really like the design of the space pirates in this game. I think they're quite interesting, especially the ones that have the fire coming out of their eyes. I think it's very cool. Alright, just take out these guys right through here. There's no real big threats through this sequence, it's just a matter of making your way through here. Trying to escape. So here's more of those parasites. Can I scan these? Oh, I already got those ones. I love the way they splatter all over your visor. I think that's really awesome. It's really clever the way that does that. I think this sequence really nails exactly what it's going for in terms of making you feel like you're under a lot of pressure. Does a very good job. These are massive ventilation shafts, by the way. I don't know why they need ventilation shafts that are this huge, but they do! So I guess that's all that matters. They've got what they need. It's almost like they knew I was going to be coming, so they made them just the right height for me to get through. Let's wait for that to explode. You'll find that I spend a lot of time just charging my beam. I don't know why it is. I think it's just habit. It's like having my button on the firing button. Alright, let's take out that guy and that guy. That's quick. So anyone who like can't get out of here in time, like it's very generous with the amount of time you get to escape from here. If you don't make it, then maybe video games aren't for you. And we're almost out of here now, thankfully. I wonder if we'll ever see this ship again. There's a question that I'm not going to answer. That scared the bejeebers out of me the first time, so I love the way you can see all these like scratch marks from where this machine's been slamming up here. It took me a while to work out that I was supposed to follow it up to this door. I thought that was a little bit too dangerous, but lo and behold, that's what you're supposed to do. Let's make our way over here. You can also use bombs to open doors. I guess it wouldn't be a Metroid game without Ridley. So that's a new iteration of Ridley, because as most of you would know, you killed Ridley at the end of the original Metroid. Or at least you thought you did. And I stuffed up that... this swing here. I quite like the way the swinging feels in this, actually. There's a lot of things which I'll get into more detail about with the first-person platforming and things in this game that I think are really impressive. Must have taken some real trial and error to get this game to feel as good as it does. Alright, let's get out of here. Access to deck alpha approved. Please step into the hologram. And there we have what is honestly what I believe to be the worst part of the game, is the way that Samus loses her abilities. She can put up with all this stuff, but then one explosion getting knocked into a wall, and she loses all this suit functionality, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But there you go. So we're down to just having our regular shots. There's no charge beam anymore, which kind of sucks. No missiles. No morph ball bombs. Gotta wait for this room to depressurize so we can get out of here. Get back to our ship. Alright, welcome to the Talon Overworld, and welcome to the end of this episode. This next episode we're going to start exploring this wonderful, wonderful place here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with Metroid Prime and why I love it so much. So I hope you'll join me for that as we start to explore this wonderful new place we've found. So I'll see you then!